What's going on, everybody? Back again. We have another episode of Consumed. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about Arnold and Lebron teaming up for a new nutritional supplement company. So while I was doing some client work yesterday, kind of buried in my own world, I started getting some notifications on my social media and some emails that were getting forwarded to me that were all kind of linking to this new nutritional supplement company that was launching that day. And just that on its own merits is not something that would distract me, but what I kind of quickly noticed was that there were some powerhouse founders that were behind this brand. So, some of the articles were linking to an interview with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger is probably one of the most, famous bodybuilders, fitness kind of icons in the industry. Again, I've never been an Arnold fan per se, never been one of those people that had Arnold on my wall or anything like that. Not that big of a deal, okay. And most of you guys maybe know I worked at Muscle Farm, not when we did have the Arnold endorsement, but, it's not out of the normal that, bodybuilders, even the top of famous bodybuilders have had nutritional supplement companies. But the next name, arguably the biggest name or one of the biggest names in the world, LeBron James, was attached to this nutritional supplement company. And as a Northeast Ohioan that just so happens to be the same age as LeBron and has followed him since high school, I was extremely excited to see that he attached his name to a brand that's in an industry that I focus in. Just because I think it's extremely important to have those names involved in the industry from maybe a validation standpoint, but also just to get people involved in the industry, this healthier for you lifestyle, and get them into the product pipeline that we know and love in kind of the nutritional supplement industry. And there's also some kind of other names behind it. I'm not sure if branding agency, PR agency, whatever, kind of like put these four names together, but it's kind of balanced, kind of generational, old new 50-50, women, men 50-50, but the other two names are Lindsey Vonn, Winter Olympian, and you had Cindy Crawford, kind of a modeling icon, beauty icon, been in the limelight for quite a while. But all those names are kind of mega names in their own little spaces. And though maybe some of them are kind of, a little bit lower than LeBron, they all have their own kind of sub niche and subsection and people that they influence very strongly. And I guess just to take a step back, I didn't even mention the name of the company. The company is called Ladder, Ladder, Ladder. And I'll get into a little bit more about that brand name and their positioning with that brand name and everything like that. But to kind of get back to the founders and why they all were attached to the nutritional supplement world and this brand in general, they all on the website, they all kind of have their own personal stories. But I guess this all kind of kicked off with LeBron after the 2014 NBA Finals, which the Miami Heat lost to the San Antonio Spurs, I believe. I think it was a pretty lopsided series. LeBron was having some cramping issues, and basically that offseason, he went to his head trainer and was like, hey, what can I do to get better? What can I do to make this offseason the best? Because I don't want to have this feeling again. And what the trainer and LeBron kind of found out was there was a lack of kind of products in the market that both kind of met his needs, from like product formulations or whatever they were looking for to maximize his off-season efforts, but also more importantly, kind of like from a safety, purity, all those types of things. Somebody of that level, they can't slip up on anything. They can't not know what's in their body at all times. So, they were struggling to find those things. And through that, LeBron and his trainer kind of created their own supplements that LeBron would take, that they kind of privately created with a lab and made sure it was tested and everything was good. So they kind of were already starting this ball, and this kind of started this trigger effect. The Arnold Schwarzenegger name, like I said earlier, was kind of, he was involved with Muscle Farm. They had an Arnold series that he endorsed. But in 2016, they had a bad kind of breakup, and I won't get into kind of a lot of the details, but basically Arnold decided at that point, hey, I don't want to kind of put my name behind something unless it's my company at this point. So, through probably some connections in some way, Arnold, LeBron start talking. They start talking about their different ideologies and needs in the market and what they wanted to do, and they kind of start this process. And I'm not sure exactly how, Lindsey Vonn or Cindy Crawford kind of got involved in this. I'm sure, through different network effects, people get connected and people get bought into different stories and different reasons. And regardless, they jumped on board. All four of these people jumped on board. I'm sure they have a lot of other investors and things that are in there that are kind of tied up into this, but none of those things are kind of disclosed through any of the press releases or any of the articles that I saw. So what is Ladder? What is this brand? Why did they create this? And essentially Ladder is really positioned as a lifestyle brand, and they use the Ladder name to basically say to reach for more aspirational lifestyle branding, ladders in life, kind of work your way up in whatever goal setting. It could be kind of said in any way in marketing lingo for taglines. It's honestly very flexible in kind of what you create the meaning around it. But what they're kind of saying is, we don't want to take the one-size-fits-all approach to this brand. And what we're going to do to kind of support that is kind of three pillars. One is kind of around content. I think all of us agree content is king. You're watching my content right now. So obviously you guys understand content is very important to get proper information. And these kind of big name star power, the types of circles that these people run in, they have access to the brightest, most creative, all the resources available to create, the best content possible. So we'll see, obviously this just launched, so we'll see what kind of comes out of that. But I would expect big things in the future as they kind of figure out where they fit in this industry. Now, they're kind of the second pillar is around community, and though content is readily available, and I think everybody can get the right information they need by the internet has everything available at its fingertips. What makes people, especially kind of dieting and everything, successful is usually around community and support and having, personalized information, trackers, accountability, a lot of different things that people need to stay on track. And they're kind of using that as one of their pillars. And then kind of thirdly, they're talking about product. They believe their product is extremely well made. They also have aspects of personalization, which I'll talk about later in the video. But they think they have a pretty good understanding of what consumers need because one, these are things that athletes have tested and proved that work well, but also because they know that one of the biggest Achilles heels of the nutritional supplement industry is always around kind of the quality and safety aspect, and they really doubled down on that and made sure that people understood, these are extremely high quality products that are, safely made, tested, all those different things. Let's talk about business model. This is a direct-to-consumer business. It should be a direct-to-consumer business. There should be no reason why they should ever go anywhere else. At this point with the social influence they have with those names, I think combined they probably have close to 50 million followers on Instagram, and that doesn't even include any of the impressions that they get from mass media, just all the other kind of outlets they have available to them. They could easily talk to their 5 closest friends, and that number if they each talk to their 5 closest friends, that number would probably blossom into the billions of impressions that they could get just from network effects and different connections. So, they don't need to be into a GNC. They don't need to be in a Walmart. They don't need to be into those outlets. They can create their own traffic. They don't need to piggyback on somebody else's traffic and pay them a middleman's fee, a margin, a wholesale fee. So within this kind of overall macro direct-to-consumer model, they also have elements of kind of personalization. And personalization at this point, it doesn't matter what kind of nutritional supplement brand you look at, if it's like Care of, which I did a video on before. We're talking about a very simple database that is kind of built on top of a quiz element that is used to capture data. And through the answers that you give, it basically does a sequence that gives you a set of recommendations that you believe is personalized to you, but it's really just a pretty quick database query that gives you a result. But that gives them the ability, they're capturing data early. They have some deeper insights to expand on later if they want to add on integrations or products or whatever. They have some understanding of what people want, when they want it, prices they want it, a lot of different things they can pull from that data, from that simple quiz. And there's also kind of a subscription model, and nutritional supplements are great for kind of this autopilot consumption aspect. Especially some of the proteins and different things like on Amazon, they do extremely well. Subscription model is working across all fast consumer goods or consumer packaged goods. So they've built that element into their website right off the bat. So let's kind of move into like the branding side of it. I touched a little bit on touched on a small bit of it earlier in the video, but I want to preface this all by saying like branding a lot of times is art over science, personal opinion. These are my personal opinions. These are not saying these are right, but this is just kind of how I feel. If you guys feel differently, make sure you guys comment below. I'd love to kind of engage with you on why you guys believe that these things are actually positives over negatives or negatives over positives. But I talked about the brand name at the beginning, Ladder. I personally like the name. I tend to skew towards lifestyle, aspirational type of brand names. And I think Ladder really gives them the ability to use a ton of different taglines and a lot of things around goal setting or reaching your peak, whatever they kind of want to roll with. But it's kind of a marketer's dream to have that kind of flexibility. Packaging, if you guys look at the packaging, I'll link the website below so you guys can look at the website. But the packaging I just didn't like it overall. I mean, I think it's very black. It's very male-centric, I think. I think it's very, it just looks very uninspiring and kind of cheap to me. I don't know. I just really didn't like. I understand a lot of the quote unquote kind of light white space and kind of creating simplicity and everything, but I'm not sure if this hit the mark for me. I do like the aspect of kind of like having sachets and the individual or what we consider like individual packets. I think that really helps with marketing it to kind of new lifestyle consumers. And if you guys think about this, I'm not saying this is definitely not an MLM company, but if you guys look at multi-level marketing companies, I think a lot of the customer base is going to be pretty similar, and a lot of those brands use individual packets. It just makes things really easy. It doesn't change people's lifestyles. They do add some extra costs, but I think the intended market that they're going after, it makes sense for them to do these individual packets. Now, their use of like athletes and kind of social influencers, I wholeheartedly believe that that's kind of where things are going. Regardless if you're using, micro influencers, if you're using nano influencers like me, or you're using mega influencers like Lebron or Kylie Jenner or Kim Kardashian, those types of people. It doesn't matter. At this point, that adds validity, that adds voice to your brand, that adds distribution scale, that adds a ton of different things. And I think their use of athletes specifically, or 3 of the 4 being athletes, I think they're adding validity because they're saying, hey, if this works for athletes and it's good enough for athletes, it's good enough for you, George that lives in Iowa, use this, it's going to be great for you. And just to kind of touch on like some of the elements, I mean, being a direct consumer model, website's obviously a key thing. And the website's really well built, at least from my point of view. I think it was easy to navigate. It pushed you through commerce pretty quickly. A lot of the quizzes and things like that were pretty easy to kind of navigate through. And I thought there was a good blend of kind of like functional and kind of important content, be it romance, brand story, marketing, branding side of things, but also just kind of like informational content type of information. I think a lot of those, there was a good blend of all that. I think it was right on the expectation level that I had when I looked at a website, especially with just kind of the people they had backing this company. And then let's kind of jump into the product the products that they have. As you guys know, I'm not like this, science guy. I'm not going to break down these products to the, nth degree. I'm sure, somebody else on the internet is probably going to get to that point, and maybe they'll have extreme opinions on things. I'm going to give you guys just the stats. I'm going to give you the business side of this because I think it's important. They started with 4 products. They have a whey protein, they have a plant protein, they have what they're calling like an energy product, which is kind of a pre-workout, and then there's a greens product. And the breakdown of these ones, the whey protein is a blend of, I think, milk protein isolate and whey protein isolate. They also have like a vitamin and probiotic blends. I'm not sure if those are custom or if they're just kind of off the shelf type of things that they had with their manufacturer. And then they use like kind of all natural, and you'll see in all these, they all have like all natural flavors, all natural sweeteners, no added colors, anything like that. And then so you got kind of the plant protein, that is pea protein, and I think they're using an organic pumpkin protein. My guess is it's very much pea protein with just a sprinkle of the pumpkin protein, just because the pumpkin protein is extremely expensive, especially organic pumpkin protein. So I don't think they went too crazy with that one because the cost could go insanely high. They also have like an enzyme and a probiotic blend in that as well. And the pre-workout or the energy product it's pretty basic, but I think for a controversial or a product that is going towards a mainstream, I think it was pretty well formulated for the intended audience. They're using creatine, they're using beta-alanine, they're using carnosine, the trademarked beta-alanine. So shout out to carnosine for getting that publicity with these names. I think if they were smart, they would be blasting that out everywhere. They're also using like betaine anhydrous, and I think there's some there's a form of choline in there, there's theanine, and then there's some natural caffeine. But overall, it's not going to be the strongest thing in the world. I think it's 100 milligrams of caffeine, but you got to be careful, especially with these names and the people you're kind of marketing this to. You can't give these people 400 milligrams of caffeine, exotic stimulants, whatever, and expect them to not die by taking these things, or especially taking them in a high dosage. This is a safe bet. This is a good bet. I endorse this, even though being in the industry, I know that it's not the best formula out there, but it's a great formula for the intended audience. And then they have the greens product, and there's just a ton of different things in there, spirulina, matcha, barley, spinach. I saw a bunch of other things in there. It's a pretty good balanced greens formula. And I think it's one of those wellness greens element product category is growing pretty quickly. So I think they needed to definitely add that as one of their key 4. But if you look a little bit further, and I kind of dug into their trademark application on Ladder and kind of figured out, what is their goal here? Is this just these 4 products, which most of us probably know it's not, but I wanted to peek into where I thought they were going to go. And they definitely trademarked this across a lot of different classes of products. They kind of covered all the nutritional supplement areas. They covered like the fruit nut seed bars. They covered the cereal grain, plant protein bars, mixes, all that kind of stuff. And they also covered sports drinks, which to me was a little bit interesting because LeBron James endorses Sprite, which is owned by Coca-Cola. Now Coca-Cola owns Powerade, and they also own a minority stake now in Body Armor. Now Body Armor is a very fast-growing sports drink that seems to be the darling that they think is going to take down Gatorade. An early backer in Body Armor was Kobe Bryant. So kind of full tilt on that one. So we'll see from a competition what I would believe is if they ever did launch some sports drink or something like that, I would imagine Coca-Cola is going to be somewhere involved in this through distribution rights. Some element. They're going to get their hands in this if they already have access to LeBron. So I don't think this is going to be something that's going to be an issue in the future, but I think it's definitely going to be something that we probably have to pay attention to. And as I said kind of earlier in the video, all these products are NSF for sports certified, so they do have elements of some extra safety testing and things that is not required by the standpoint of just like nutraceutical manufacturing. At this point, you only have to kind of follow CGMP certification. You want to go after some more like NSF or Banned Substance Control Group, or informed choice, or any of those types of things. You have to you go on in your own to validate your products a little bit more to have that badge of kind of purity and safety. Before I wrap this up with kind of my thoughts around everything, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit around the economics of the products. I had a good sense of what I thought these things were going to cost, but I did some extra due diligence and had, a very reputable contract manufacturer kind of also take a look at some of these things. And I won't go into kind of some of the details of each one of these individual products, but what I'll say is that, all in with packaging and all these different kind of elements, they still have a very hefty margin for a direct-to-consumer model. I believe they're probably going to spend a great deal of that margin on customers acquisition, especially in this initial push. Expect to see this blitzed everywhere, all of your social media, all of your web searching, I don't know if they go mass media with some of this subscription model, similar to what you've seen lately with like Hims or Keeps, or if they kind of just stick to using the influence around their founders and their friends, or what they do with it. But I believe a lot of the extra baked in kind of margin is going to be around customer acquisition to kind of make sure they get a proper footing in the market. And I'm not saying these products are cheaply made. I'm saying based around the retail price point, not including introductory discounts or any kind of discounts that these founders will give. Just on face value with anything, the margins are a little bit higher than what I would expect, but they're not egregious. They're not taking advantage of anybody. The formulations are good for the intended customer. Advanced users are going to look at it and say, hey, I could get better for cheaper. We get that, but that's not really the market that they're going after. So I don't really have a problem with a lot of the economics around this brand. But let's just kind of I just want to end this on my thoughts. Like, I know that's what most people want out of this video. They want to know, is this going to interrupt my business? Is this going to hurt my business? Is this going to win? Is this going to lose? Is this going to fail? Like, what's going to happen? What's going on with this brand? And firstly, I'll just kind of say, like, this is version 1.0. Regardless of how big name these people are and how impressive we think of them, and we put them on these pedestals, they aren't consumer packaged goods experts. They're not consumer goods experts. They maybe have a knack for things. They might be creative or great at certain things, and their team that's involved might be pretty good at things. But this is still, in a sense, their proof of concept. So don't expect this to be the end result. This thing will get better. Elements of this will get better. So want to make sure everybody pumps their brakes a little bit if they say, oh, this should have been so much better. It will get better, and this is a much better effort than a lot of people put out for their version 1.0. I mentioned before, I don't think the products are all that bad. I think they're great for the intended market, and I think that they took a pretty good approach if we are comparing it to an MLM company. Are they as competitive as some of the other nutritional supplement companies? No. I would expect, later in 2019 that they're going to launch some new products. I think they'll also probably relook at some of their branding. I think this kind of all dark black masculine look is not going to play well. So I think when they look at kind of their customer data, I think they're going to say, hey, maybe we need to kind of look at making a change on that. And then finally, like success level. Obviously, these names, they have a much different idea of what they think a success is over maybe somebody jumping new into the nutritional supplement industry. I'll say on star power alone, this brand is going to sell a lot, and it's going to sell a lot fast. If you only get a small fraction of each one of these followers to convert, and you have them convert and stay within the subscription model and not have too high of an attrition or churn rate, this is going to be a pretty successul company. And some of the industry people that I talked to kind of pointed to another kind of kind of the last generation's celebrity endorsement company called InStone, which was around Sylvester Stallone. And what I'll say is that this is a much different era. This is an era now in 2018 where athletes, thought leaders, celebrities have self-distribution rights to whatever they want to put out there for communication. They no longer have to go through traditional PR agencies. They don't have to go through magazines. They don't have to go through any of that systems anymore. If they want to put a message out there and they want to drive sales, they could drive sales quickly with a tweet or a post, and all of a sudden a flood of people go towards that brand. So I don't think there's any real comparison to that. I also think that the names involved, they probably have some pretty good business advisors and they have some pretty good people that are involved with this. So I'm not saying this is going to be, a $1 billion brand, but what I'm going to say is that easily 8 figures first year out the gate, trending towards 9 figures in year 2, and then kind of seeing from there if they execute correctly on a lot of their ideas, and if they kind of mature some of their technologies and product development and just kind of their network effect with influencers. Who knows where this can be. I don't want to doubt somebody like LeBron James, because if you know what's going on with just kind of social capital and everything, humongous brands are getting built on the back of mega influencers, and LeBron is about as mega influencer as you're going to get. So I'll end this topic on that note. If you guys have some differing opinions on all of this, comment below. Let's have some good conversation around this. But I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your day to listen to this video. I know it was a lot longer than normal, but hopefully you guys got some value out of it. If you guys did, like, subscribe, help me out grow this channel a little bit. But I'll sign off now, and I'll see you guys on the next one.